Hi, I'm Mike McGee, content manager at Course Report, where we help people find and choose the best training programs to reach their career goals. Today, I am joined by Evan Rory, a graduate of the TripleTen Business Intelligence Analytics Bootcamp, who recently transitioned into a new role as a data quality analyst at ServiceTitan. I'm excited to learn more about why Evan decided to pivot into analytics, what the day-to-day TripleTen experience was like, and how the program supported him in making this career change. Before TripleTen, you were working in HR and talent acquisition. What made you start thinking about a move into data analytics?
So for me, I was in recruitment slash HR for a little over 6 years at that time. What I noticed was I was kind of hitting a ceiling where I didn't see anything above what I currently was doing. And there wasn't any opportunities at my current role that made me feel like I can excel at something else or I can, get into another field. So basically, it was a point where I felt like I needed to switch it up because not only did I want something more challenging, but I wanted to find a role that can actually feel like a career that actually paid, more for what I was looking for. So those all kind of attributed to the reason why I looked elsewhere. And data analytics was something that I wasn't too aware of at the time, but I do remember working as a tech recruiter at another job, and I learned a lot about tech roles, and those roles intrigued me to the point where I thought I can see myself potentially doing this, but I didn't know exactly how to do that in like my late to early 20s, not having a background in tech at all. So I just need to know how I can, get myself in any sort of tech field. And that's kind of where I started looking at TripleTen, and they gave me some ideas.
So, just through your previous career experience, you saw these tech roles, but didn't have the full path of like how to get into that. And that's when you started looking and TripleTen came into play. So, why did you eventually choose TripleTen and the BI Analytics Bootcamp? Like, what stood out about TripleTen in your research process?
Yeah, I mean, I was highly impressionable at this time that I was looking for anything. So all I remember was I was on my Instagram just scrolling away, and I just saw a post, and it was just about a guy that seemed like a normal, guy that he was from New York. I remember that he basically said that he made a transition into tech just like I was looking to do, and he was so happy about like his career opportunities because he was working from home. I liked the idea of working from home. He had a huge base pay. He was able to travel. He basically had a life that I saw myself doing, and he made it seem like it wasn't that hard for him to transition into that field. He just had to go through the boot camp. So that kind of started the ball rolling for me to like know about TripleTen. So once I saw that link, I was like, okay, what can it hurt for me to just set up a call just to see what this can do for me? So I clicked the prompt at the bottom. It allowed me to schedule a time with a career coach, and that conversation basically they just went over my background, what I was currently doing, and they just recommended that I should maybe look into data analytics because it has so many similarities to what I've already done. So it was pretty much a 1-2 step where I just looked at a link, I applied, I spoke to a career coach, and then from there I didn't really look back, I would say.
So it was you going through the admissions process, talking to the TripleTen representatives that opened the possibility of doing the business intelligence analytics boot camp.
Pretty much, yeah. It was pretty simple.
All right. So for those that are, listening, could you, tell us what business intelligence is and, how is that different from data analytics or just kind of an overview of BI?
Yeah, if you were to ask me that question a couple months ago, I wouldn't know the answer. And even now, it's still a broad term that I still don't know how to fully explain. But I guess from my end, what makes sense to me is a data analyst is someone that just knows how to translate data to people that don't necessarily understand the data. So for me, I learned a lot about techniques like how to kind of turn, data like numbers and different graphs and make visualizations that can help a stakeholder understand what their business is doing. So that can mean different things for different companies. My current role, I'm more just in charge of migrating data and also making sure that the people that are in charge of these accounts understand how their data migrated from their previous software into ours. And that's pretty seamless, but obviously there could be issues along the way where there's mapping issues. So for me, anyone that is looking to know about data analytics is just knowing how to be that middle person that can look at the complex data and make it look more appealing to the naked eye or someone that just has nothing to do with data at all.
Well, I think that's a great explanation there. So you've definitely learned enough to communicate it to me. Appreciate that. Okay, so how do you go from not knowing anything about business intelligence to be able to give that great summary? What was the day to day experience at TripleTen? Can you walk us through how you went from not knowing anything and how did TripleTen boot camp work for you just day in, day out learning?
So they basically break it up into sprints. The sprints are all self-paced, so that's another benefit. You work at your own pace until you're satisfied or you feel like you've conquered that subject matter. So for me, basically, I made it a point to make sure every single sprint that I'm on that I fully understand it. If I don't, ask questions and you'll be able to figure it out. So each week there was a sprint. They kind of started with the basics, just about how to use simple things like Excel spreadsheets, how to create formulas. They kind of just gradually got more complex, but they wanted to make sure you had a good foundation. And each of those different tools that you need to know how to use, they did rely on having that previous knowledge from that other subject that you just learned. And each sprint ends with a practice of you or exercise of you practicing what you just learned essentially. So for me, that's essentially how I was able to understand each of those subjects. Is they taught it to me, I was able to digest it, and then I was able to practice utilizing it in a real world setting where they gave you an account or some sort of task that kind of is similar to what you would do in the real world, and you would be able to apply what you just learned to that. So that's what the week to week base job looked like when I was studying. I was able to kind of do that from that point.
Thank you for walking through how you set up your days and weeks to advance through the material. You mentioned it a bit, but can you dive a little deeper into like how the instructors, mentors, learning coaches, how they supported you through this learning experience at Tripleton?
Yeah, there's some things that I guess I'm still remembering because it has been a while that I've done this. But basically, when I started the program, every week or every couple of days, I had a career advisor or the person that basically is assigned to me that if I had any questions, I could reach out to them directly. So that person would check in with me throughout my journey just to make sure if I was, falling short on certain subjects or if I needed more assistance. And they would either connect me to someone else or they would be able to guide me themselves on like how to kind of figure out how to understand the subject. So that person was very useful for me when I was struggling with certain subjects. And then even after that, there were group settings that we had on Discord where if there were a bunch of us that had a question or a subject that we were struggling with, there were groups that we could attend that were with the idea of making sure that each of us are able to understand this specific subject matter. So all of those different resources were available, and anytime I needed it, it was there.
Thank you for providing that answer there. You also touched on earlier just going through the day-to-day experience about like there be different sprints, and in order to advance and really be able to learn the next subject through the sprint, it would build off of what you previously learned, and that it was kind of hands-on, like you're applying this knowledge. So were there hands-on projects or portfolio work that help you apply what you were learning? What was your BI analytics project?
So there were a few actually. I still have them on my Notion page. So yeah, the subjects that we learned, like for example, dealing with creating visualizations with uh, our I'm trying to remember the name, Tableau or Power BI. Those are the two tools that we use for our visualization. Each of those gave me the ability to kind of know how to play with the different features, how to create my own dashboard, how to kind of put everything together, and then they would actually allow me to kind of test that on an account. Like for example, I worked with Airbnb with their data, how to kind of see what the best properties are in different areas based on location, based off time of year, pretty much all those different factors. And this was something that I was able to utilize as a way to build my portfolio to show if you were someone that was looking to find a data analyst that knows how to translate complex data from Airbnb listings, I had that, in my portfolio to show someone. So those are like some examples. I have about maybe five or six that were different companies and different projects, and each of those allowed me to highlight a specific skill set tied to, visualization, SQL, queries, or just simple Excel tables and stuff like that.
That sounds really cool that you were able to have a portfolio of these projects amplifying and highlighting a different skill that you were learning in the program. Cool. So we've talked about the day-to-day experience, how TripleTen's instructors and support helped guide you through the program. Now let's kind of shift to a post-program experience, or as you're getting ready to fully focus on finding a job after the program. What kind of career support did TripleTen provide during the program? How did they prepare you for the job search and interviews?
Yeah, so right after I finished my last sprint, they basically transitioned me into career acceleration. So, for anyone that doesn't know, so career acceleration was a program that once you have completed all the courses and you have your portfolio, now this is the time where you're going to be able to put everything together. And now there's going to be a game plan that you're going to follow to help you increase your odds. It's not obviously guaranteed, but it increases the odds of you landing a role with the knowledge that you've acquired. So, for me, every 2 weeks, from what I remember, I had two individuals that I had to meet with. One of them was meant to kind of give me tips on how to make my resume look better, how to make my portfolio look better. And then the second person, they basically kind of helped me with interview prep. So they kind of helped me with, how to answer certain questions, how to make my LinkedIn portfolio look better, things like that that are important to also, do in order to help you kind of stand out in the careers search. So that's the program that I had to do every 2 weeks, where I showed them this is how many jobs I've applied for. The goal was every 2 weeks, or every week actually, you would have to send 10 applications out, and you would have to network with 10 people in some media form. So that I had to do constantly, and there was a dashboard that allowed me to kind of track my efforts. But all of that was, with the intention of helping me kind of see the value of, making sure that I'm staying on top of that, process. So that's essentially what career acceleration did for me that led me to where I am.
Okay, so now you're a data quality analyst at Service Titan. How did that opportunity come about? What was the interview like? Was it technical? Just walk through how you got your current opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, it was fun, but it was long. So I remember this was the job that it took me probably about 6 months, probably longer. I don't remember exactly how long since I got finished with TripleTen's program, but that was one of the applications that I sent out just like any other. And from there, I got some responses back, and that took probably about a little over a month for the full interview process to complete. I had the most interviews I've had for any other role for this job. I had about, I think, six different rounds of interviews. Each of them were like little 30-minute segments. I had to meet with people on Zoom. They were very good with their process of like following along as far as like, scheduling things and making sure there wasn't any idle time. Like every week I had some, interview scheduled for someone. So it was pretty effortless after that point. But yeah, it took a lot. It was a lot of effort. It was a lot of stress for me at times because obviously I wanted to, not mess up the interview. And, with each round, it increased that probability of you getting the job, but it also increased the odds of you potentially not. So I took it very seriously, needless to say. But yeah, after I got that 6 round interview, they took about a couple more weeks and they reached back out and gave me the role. And needless to say, I was very excited. I was very shocked, and I was, very fortunate to get that call.
Wow, definitely sounds like an intensive, kind of nerve-wracking process, but something that you had prepared for just with having a career before jumping into Triple 10, going through the program. So, in your new role, how are you using the skills you learned in the boot camp?
There's a lot of things I've learned that I'm using now. So the main one, I guess, is with my Excel skills. I definitely use that a lot now. There's a lot of things that I need to know as far as like how to create, tables, how to, do quick little tricks that Excel does that allows you to kind of migrate data from one sheet to the next, or how to clean it up better. So those are things that are very useful for me. There's a lot of SQL that's involved in my job just for, some additional, filtering. So that's another thing that I've kind of utilized. I'm still kind of learning it as I go along, and my job obviously gives you more training on how they utilize SQL because it is different. But it gave me at least the foundation with TripleTen to know how to understand what a query looks like, and I was able to be more prepared for when they were training me on that subject. So there's a couple other things, but yeah, the main thing is for me Excel, SQL, knowing how to kind of speak the language of data, how to understand how to read data. That's kind of something that I think was the most beneficial that I do constantly utilize, with each new task that I have here.
So you described some of the skills that you learned at Tripleton that you're applying in your current job. Without giving away any company secrets, can you tell us what you're working on project wise at Service Titan?
Let me think. So I guess for me, the main thing that my job does is we handle information that a company that works in the service industry. This is pretty much the bulk of our company's our clients come from. So anyone that's in the service industry, whether they're electricians or HVAC individuals or plumbers, their companies obviously have data that they need to track their invoices, their AR, their customer data, and they have of infrastructure for them to do that. And there's other competitors that are out there that do this, but if they want to join our company, I would be the person that helps them migrate their data from that previous software and then bring it over to ours. And from my understanding, I mean, we are one of the top, if not the top, provider for tech industry or service industry. So it is important, and it is a lot of family companies. There's a lot of corporate companies that are bringing in over 1 million plus. So it's important to have your data looking clean for them because their business always scales once they have better software, and our company has been known to help scale businesses as far as their revenue after a year of working with us. So that just speaks to the value of what we do and the importance of my job helping them start that journey when they join ServiceTitan.
Incredible work that you're doing there, and definitely understand the importance and the sensitivity of that role of helping to onboard these companies that just don't have experience having such a large migration of critical data there. All right, final
Yep.
few questions for you
Yep.
here, kind of big picture. Looking back, what part of the program do you think helped you the most in making this career change?
Any one thing that I can think of. There are so many things. I mean, obviously the different subject matters that I learned, the resources that I've acquired. Um, I think the main thing that sticks out is, I guess, the community, and obviously knowing when I had questions, there were not just a person to answer, but there was a whole resource library of answers that I could find. It's obviously easier when you feel like somebody else is equally there to kind of help you, like, help guide you through the process. But for me, I was able to get things that I can keep for later. I had links that I can continue to utilize. I have a full portfolio now that I can still show anyone that wants to see my experience. Those things kind of helped me a lot. And, obviously being self paced as well, TripleTen definitely helped because I was working 2 jobs and I didn't really have the time to do it every single day. And the idea that they gave me was as long as you can dedicate at least an hour or two, if not 3 hours a day at some point, you can figure it out. So the self paced aspect of it definitely was another factor that allowed me to kind of schedule things out to allow me to finish at a timely manner. But I can figure it out as I went along.
Appreciate you re-highlighting that self-paced part of it, especially considering that you were pretty busy whenever you were working to be able to fit this education in between all the other priorities that you had. Okay,
Yeah.
so considering what we just talked about, the time that you put in, the effort, the tuition that you paid to do this program. Was Tripleton worth the investment for you?
I would say so. Yeah. I mean, obviously, the trajectory of my career path definitely excelled once I did get the opportunity that I got now, and obviously, I know this is just the beginning. So, definitely, I would say so, and not just for the financial reasons, but also for the just the work life balance. I feel like I have a lot more opportunities that I didn't have before. Not as much stress as I had before. So there's a lot of things that this program has helped me kind of get to where it was a better outlook on life in general, in different aspects. But yeah, I think that was definitely something that was worth the investment.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Final question for you. For someone considering TripleTen or moving into business intelligence, data analytics from another field, what advice would you give them? And is there anything you would have done differently while navigating this career shift?
Yeah, I mean, I guess to answer that question specifically, I wish I did it sooner. There was other opportunities that I could have jumped on this sooner, probably a year or two ago, but obviously I didn't know about it yet. So I wish I knew about the program a lot sooner than I did. But I guess for the person that is looking to start like I did, the only thing I remember was when I went through the process, I knew that it was going to take patience. I knew that it was going to take time. But obviously, as I was going along the journey, I kind of fell short and I forgot that sometimes because I was so eager and I was so frustrated, just with myself. But I guess for me, it's good to know that obviously the hard work did pay off eventually. It wasn't exactly when I thought it would, obviously, but that's just life in general. You have to kind of just be patient, just wait for your turn, and I was able to do that. So for anyone, I would say if they're looking to kind of start the program, I would say obviously keep in mind why you did start the program, whether it was better pay, better work life balance, or just better, just any type of aspect of life that you were looking to improve on, and just keep reminding yourself of that whenever you fall short or you feel like you're stumbling on some sort of subject matter. It's something that you just have to remind yourself there is a reason that I'm doing this, and then once you get to then you'll kind of see how that all kind of tied into it. So that's what I'll tell anyone is just to kind of stay patient.
Valuable and sage advice for all of us is to be more patient and to continue being more persistent if especially if you're making a bold move like this. So thank you so much, Evan, for your
Yeah.
time here sharing your story. For everyone out there, if you want to learn more, you can read TripleTen reviews on Course Report. This interview was produced by the Course Report team in partnership with TripleTen. Thank you.